Hi all, hope you're all well. It's good connecting with a lot of you via Zoom last Sunday, and I know that others of you watched via YouTube as well. Well done for keeping connected. I know for some of you that is like overcoming the some real technical hurdles. Well done, and a big thank you to those who are making it happen for us as well, leading up to Sundays. You can well imagine there's some who are working really hard to make sure it goes as easily and as seamlessly as possible. And so we can still be connected. We can still be church, although physically we can't meet. We can still meet in this other form at the moment. And it's so important that we continue to do so. And all the time we're working at how we can improve that as well. So big well done to everyone. And also a big thanks to all the technical people who are making it happen for us. We're living with a lot of advice, and most of it's really helpful. We're obviously getting important advice from the government in terms of how to keep our space, how to protect ourselves in terms of the virus, but also in terms of protecting other people as well. And so we get that advice. We also, there's a lot of things now being posted online in terms of exercise. People are taking their daily exercise as being important. Maybe you're following Joe Wicks on his morning PE sessions, and children, if you're doing it, make sure your mum or dad are doing it with you. Get them exercising as well. I've noticed that a number of sportsmen and women are putting their own version up online now. It's 5 exercises to get you moving. And we'll all find our different ways of doing it. For some, it's walking the dog, and others, it's literally just getting outside and maybe doing a squat in the garden or whatever. But it's good advice. Alongside the government advice and physical exercise, just want to give a little bit of pastoral, really, encouragement of how to care for ourselves. I think it's important we learn how to pastor ourselves in these days with all the challenges that actually each day can bring. So I'm going to just share 3 simple words which hopefully will just give us a bit of help, a bit of encouragement. First one is to guard, and it's easy, isn't it, to be overwhelmed by just the news. You know, we can wake up to it, and it can be like a steady stream throughout the day, and then it can actually be the last thing we look at night. And somehow that constant stream of news, it can feed fear. It can feed anxiety. It can actually quite affect us emotionally and in terms of our mental well-being. And I think we all need to develop our strategies, actually. You know, we need to be informed so we don't bury our heads in the sand and avoid the news. But equally, I think we need to learn how to monitor the news, what's best for us, really. Cheryl and I had this conversation literally last week, and we just made an agreement between ourselves that we wouldn't look at the news first thing in the morning. In other words, it wouldn't be the first thing to kind of impact us, and we wouldn't look at the news late in the evening either. It wouldn't be the last thing to impact us. And in fact, what I found really helpful is just to open the Bible first thing in the morning. And I've been reading through the Psalms again. I'm in kind of the hundreds of the Psalms, you know, that zone. In fact, I just read this morning from Psalm 107. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. And in those 2 lines, you've got so much that just helps you actually to be thankful. It reminds you of God's love lasts forever. and it reminds you of the goodness of God. And, the word of God can so help us and remind us in terms of knowing what God's like, who he is, and how he's been there throughout the ages, and we can know that same God today. So it's good to think of ways that we're not governed by the news, but actually we begin to let other things just guard our hearts, really, and keep our hearts in truth, and anchor our hearts in the right things. So that's guarding. I think the second thing, which is actually quite similar but maybe slightly different, is to feed our hearts. We need to know, what we are really ingesting, as it were, mentally and emotionally and spiritually. I think social media can be a real help. I've certainly read some very helpful articles, for example, on Twitter, but there are also some unhelpful things as well. And but as well as that, I think just too much social media, it can almost become addictive, and you're almost just searching for the next thing. And again, we need to really, I think, train our hearts to feed on the right things. Now, one of those I've given already, I think, to open our Bibles, to, just to be reading scripture, so gets our heart and our minds in the right place. In fact, I was just thinking earlier about those scriptures in Philippians 4 that have been quoted a lot recently about don't be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And it goes on to say in verse 8 of chapter 4, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever's true, whatever's noble, whatever's right, whatever's pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. And even that verse, it becomes a springboard, really, into thinking about the things that are good, that are noble, that are praiseworthy. And it helps to train our minds, helps to feed our minds. And we do need to learn to feed ourselves. I think it's part of pastoring ourselves, is to feed ourselves. And it could be time to take a book off the shelf, maybe a past recommended book that you bought with good intentions, but you've never quite got around to reading, and it's there gathering dust a bit. Want to get that off the shelf and open it up and reread it. It might be time to reread a favourite, a book that you know has done you good in the past. Why not reread it? Or there's good stuff out there to get. And in fact, I'm going to finish with a book review. So if you think, oh, I'd like to read something, I'm not sure what will be helpful, I think I might have an answer for you. Okay, but just the third thing, so looked at guarding our hearts, then just feeding our hearts, our minds, and then just the third thing is reaching out. And I think somehow, living with separation, living with, degrees of isolation, I think we still need to be active in reaching out. I think we can be creative in this. I think the idea is a great idea of literally getting our address lists and looking at the names that are on our page on the address list and giving them a call, sending them a text, asking how they are. It may be someone's on your page that you know well, that's great. It may be someone's on your page you don't know so well. Well, that's great as well. Let's look out for each other. Let's reach out and let's make sure folks just feel connected in whatever way is appropriate. Also, I think in terms of neighbours and friends, maybe outside of our church community, let's be looking to take the initiative again in ways that are appropriate, with all the guidelines. But let's be active in reaching out, and that helps us. It stops us from being inward. I think we can be isolated and reaching out, or we can be isolated and inward. And I think we need to think ways that we can just just keep our hearts looking out. So there you go, 3 very, very simple things, but hopefully they're helpful reminders of how to care for ourselves. And I'm sure you can add to those things, but let's guard our hearts, let's feed our hearts, and let's keep reaching out. And finally, I promised a book review. Okay, so this is John Mark Comer. His book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, and the subtitle is How to Stay Emotionally Healthy and Spiritually Alive in the Chaos of This Modern World. I read the book in November last year and found it incredibly helpful, although this is confession time. I read it in a very quick way. I wanted to read it and get to the end because I really like John Mark Comer's books, and I thought, yeah, great read. And then went into a really busy Christmas time and beginning of the year. Remember when you could travel and see people, and life was very different. And I promised myself that I'd reread it. Now I lent my copy, so I've ordered another copy now, and it came through the post this week. And I have begun to just slowly read through it again. It's such a helpful book. Okay, it's built around the promise, or the invitation and the promise of Jesus, come unto me, all you who are weary and heavy burden, and I will give you rest. Okay, take my yoke upon you and learn of me. And it's an invitation to learn the ways of Jesus, and it really challenges the rush and the hurriedness of life. And I think it's got some very helpful insights into it. It doesn't, it says we'll still be busy at times. Life is meant to be lived, and it's not a monastic book, but it gives some very helpful insights, particularly at this time. Somehow it seems even more pertinent at this time, because it teaches you how to engage with the things that really matter. So if you're looking for a book to read, then I would thoroughly recommend this. I think it would be a good investment. If you contact Caroline at Cornerstone Whitehaven, give her a call. I know she's very willing to get books for us and to make them available, and but yeah, that's a definite, it's a must read. Okay, hope that's been helpful. Look forward to seeing you at the weekend again. We do week 3 of church online, or Zoom or YouTube, and we look forward to that time together. We will continue to keep posted with the updates, stuff that needs to be communicated, and also if there's any way we can help any of you that might be struggling in a particular area, do let us know. Obviously, there are limitations to what we can do, but within those limitations, we will do our best. Okay. So much love to all, and look forward to seeing you at the weekend. Okay, it's me signing out. Bye then.